Okay, so Kilkenny coming out well on top here. Parnell Park, 223 to 16 points for a finish. And, full value. Brian Cody's men have really laid down a marker ahead of their May 15th clash, or is it 14th clash in the Leinster Championship. They are back-to-back Leinster champions. A lot of people are talking Kilkenny down this year. Question marks over a certain amount of their players. Are they past it? Well, there was certainly a degree of an answer given here in this game. Ballyhale players are still to come back, so there's going to be a further boost, and obviously huge commiserations and deepest sympathies to everyone in Ballyhale after the heartbreaking passing of Paul Shefflin. Players who stood out in this game, I thought Martin Keown caused an awful lot of trouble close to goal for Dublin. He had that bit of a size advantage on Andrew Murphy, and Andrew Murphy won a few balls, but definitely Keown caused a bit of bother there, and his goal obviously finished off this game. And it was a couple of goals in a short space of time in the second half. Like, Dublin had been very, very poor in the first half. They were down by 11 points to 5. Alan Murphy, with his free taking, was doing a lot of the damage there. Started the second half. Dublin got in a bit of a run, point through Ronan Hayes and a couple of place balls from Donald Burke. But from then on, Kilkenny just took over. An unanswered run of two goals and 3 points. There was a couple of attempts. I'm sure people saw it on TV. Around the 41st minute or 42nd minute when Keown and then Killian Buckley had been blocked down and hooked, and then the ball broke to Keown around the 21. He fed it to Wally Walsh and he just blasted into the back of the net. It was a bit of an inevitability. As soon as he picked it up, you knew this is the sort of chance that he'd favour. A couple of more scores then from Pádraig Walsh and Wally Walsh again after coming out of a ruck, and then that goal for Keown. So Dublin, and I thought they weren't great under the high ball tonight, and normally I think it's an area that they're quite good in, but a ball broke in behind for John Donnelly to collect around the 45. He immediately recognised that the goal was on, soloed through, and a lovely weighted hand pass from Martin Keown, who fired the ball low past Alan Nolan. So really good finish there, and what you'd expect from a good forward inside. A lot of players for Kilkenny ultimately got a lot of scores on the board here. Pádraig Walsh had been very quiet, and I kind of noted midway through the second half that he hadn't really had much influence in the game from the half forward line, but he ended up getting 4 points from play, and you can't ask for much more than that. And it was from play where Kilkenny were doing all their scoring. Like in the second half, they scored a total of 212, and every bit of that was from play, which is quite some going. Like Dublin, for example, they ended up taking off their entire full forward line. Hayes was the only one of them who scored. He got a couple of points. Aidan Mellett actually started well in there, and he was generally the closest man to goal, but just the supply of ball didn't come into him. Donald Burke got a couple from play. Rian McBride got one early on. I think that might have even been the very first score of the game. It was, but didn't score again. And Danny Sutcliffe did end up with 3. Paul Crummy came on and scored a point, but they were very, very disappointed. And the manner of the defeat, to lose by 13 points at home, a very packed Parnell Park here. I know it looks like I'm locked in the gulag, but I'm actually in Parnell Park. Couple of comments coming in here. Walsh Willie says, as predicted, Shane, Dublin forwards useless. That might be a little bit harsh here, but you do have to look at their conversion rate throughout this game. In number one, they only created 31 chances, scoring 16, compared with Kilkenny created 46 chances, which is quite high. I mean, last week I think Limerick only created 30, something like that, but 46 is what Kilkenny created here. And they converted 25. So obviously they'd like to convert a couple more, but still, to create that many was very encouraging from their point of view. I thought it was a big game for the likes of Killian Buckley and Wally Walsh, because they've been on the road a long time at this stage, and there's questions over whether they'll continue to be able to nail down the plays. I thought Buckley grew into the game, not a particularly impressive first half, and Wally Walsh finished up with, I think it was 1 goal and 3 points. So he's laid down a bit of a marker there and reminded Brian Cody of what he can do in the game. But just back to the Dublin wastefulness, during the midway through the first half, I think actually early on in the first half, from the second minute up until the 27th minute, they missed 7 out of 8 scoring chances. And that's obviously not good enough. And then between minute 38 and 54, they only scored 1 point. So it was during that stage that Kilkenny went on that burst of 2-3 unanswered. So that's not going to be good enough. And if you're to even take the trend back to last week at Semple Stadium, when they did beat Tipperary, 13 of the last 14 scoring chances in that game were created by the hosts. So is there a little bit of a trend there with Dublin that they just about scraped over the line against the Tipperary team that's certainly trying to change things up at the moment, and probably not the team that they'd hope to be in the summer. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And like any talk of a Kilkenny demise, this was an answer. But it is league. Don't know how much it means just yet. Let me know what you think. And please do join us on Monday for the show. It'll be sponsored by OurGame.com. And if you missed any of the Thursday show, there's still lots of games to come this weekend. Go to patreon.com/OurGame, €5 a month to subscribe to the channel, support the channel. Works out about 50 cents a podcast a year. And that's before you bring in all the interviews that we do on the channel here. And keep an eye out for all the other match reports from the weekend.